One is that. Here we go. Complacency +2. I have to do Cemetery of the Faithful for that. No, blot Cemetery of the Faithful. I need one mechanism. As I chose a card that was a melee attack, all enemies in a 2-cell range. Round the wearer suffer willpower bonus mental damage. All allies gain 3 dogmatic, ranked, critical hit chance. Let's see if that drops my profit factor before we do this. A tradition of religious ties from other worlds is a guise that the ecclesiarchy gives the opportunity to keep a portion of its proceeds. Okay, no downside to doing that one. Blood of the Nephilim. Dry masses and lazy. 3 chemicals for +1 efficiency. Whereas Siren sleeps by +1 against demons for each rank of dogmatic. There's one person that can go on. They lose 1 efficiency. Lots Rose. Deals 10 to 15 toxic damage with 20% armor penetration, 20% dodge to all creatures in the area. Lafette made the willpower resistance test. If failed, the creature immediately attacks an ally if ally from their current position. Prepare the biologists. Just profit factor and chemicals. That one of the big giants. Following project must be completed in the Protectorate Giants. Need 4 efficiency. What is your current efficiency? Your current efficiency is 2. Do the mode of force of life. That gives us +2. Doesn't block anything. Captain Disturbing Signal has come from the quarters. 4 Age of Arbas Father, the convicts have lost their minds and forgot how to use tools. They huddle together and continue to stare aimlessly into space, even under the lashes of whips, ruining the mining deadlines. Some are possessed with the urge to use their nails to scratch blasphemous symbols on tools, machines, and their own bodies. They must have painted the walls of several mines from floor to ceiling with symbols they have gone off deep into the mining tunnels. None of them to be found. The overseer considered a ploy to divert attention away from the escapes and an impending rebellion. Have the guards not this love for cheap theorists out of the inmate's head. That's for complacency. The guards monitor where the workers disappear to. You must investigate. I will immediately pass your orders. Sadly, the spirit of educated inquiry has a limited supply among the overseers. Most of the strange prisoners were simply beaten to death during their interrogation. But one of the overseers possessed a gift for the artistic did notice something unusual. Prisoners' drawings were too systematic. It could not have been It could not be mere gibberish. The set of repeating dashes and dots were far too similar, but if it was indeed a secret code, then judging by the complexity and the impossibility of decoding it, this language was definitely not invented by a convict. Lots in Viredome. Will fear no poison. Need one mechanism for that. Some layer in the void. Extract the Metallica. Want that. Comets will be much greater use. They're kept from sleeping by employing a small automatic. There's a rumor that there are several warp guides among the convicts, unsanctioned semblance of navigators. It may be worth to hunt them down and press them into service. Yeah, no. Mm. Okay, so we got that going. Doris. Mm. Just 5 chemicals. That drops our efficiency. A decent amount of chemicals. Okay. That's it to here. Boop, 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 boop. Freight line. Mm, to increase your fellowship. So help out with this stuff. Gains nice. To turn the navigator grants a statting plus 5 bonus to willpower until the end of combat. Stats up to 5 times for a maximum of 25 willpower. Targeted by a navigator's ability, gain plus 5 resistance. Powers deal plus 1 damage for every 5 bonus characteristics navigator is currently equipped. And now you're using the solid weapon, so that works. Let's bump your ballistic still a little bit. It's 120%. Taking holds increased by 5. That's where you would be. Alright, but either way, you're not coming with. Henrich's. Wide sight Henrich's warp abilities. Sturdy built man with an augmented jaw stands at attention. The dark circles under his eyes speak to many sleepless nights, but his voice is loud and spirited. Welcome to the Freight Hub LD-A14, Lord Captain. I am Adat Fersen, Captain of the Enforcers in the Lower Deck, Bay LD-A14. The Master at Arms has assigned me as your liaison for the duration of your stay here. Lord Captain, would you like to inspect the control room or begin your search for the Temple of the Bloodspun Web? He says the last part with obvious concern. Seems you were prepared for my visit. How did Salabeth know I was coming down? Master at Arms ordered us to be at standby after the Bloodspun Web openly invited you to visit their temple. We have been awaiting your arrival every day since, Lord Captain. You have to inspect the entire compartment. I am curious to see how people in the lower decks live. Glance at you early as you wish, Lord Captain. Still, out of concern for your safety, I must warn you that you should avoid the farthest sections of the bay. They are ridden with disease, and the locals can be particularly unpleasant to deal with. What kind of riffraff that dwell here, you might even be attacked. He frowns. To be blunt, although the bay performs its functions well, even in the more civilized sections, we are sorely lacking in discipline. I was only assigned recently, so I haven't had time to straighten everything up. Since doing so will require making some serious changes. I am not inventing excuses, Lord Captain. Captain, as the officer in charge, I accept full responsibility for what takes place in this department. It is day to deal with your problems. Rest assured, I will provide you with some crucial guidance on how once I am done inspecting the bay. Offer you my assistance. Captain, I shall conduct the inspection and share my thoughts on how to change this place for the better. But stops himself mid-protest and assumes a more complex tone. In that case, I urge you to remain vigilant. The freight trains move at great speed. The inhabitants of the residence units are despicable rabble. One must never drop one's guard around them. And the Emperor preserve you from stumbling into the pestilence pit. That's where the madmen and the lepers live. Be steadfast in your duty, Captain. The Emperor protects, Lord Captain. Avalar's probably not going to like that. So, okay. Let's look somewhere. Where's the loot? Loot. chests around here. Well, there's an arrow. Is that blood? Can't be. You struck the dead 3 times before the road trader came. Before he take us, cats will have our heads. Is this the welcome you'd give the road trader? Abelard's nostrils flare in anger. Whoever had the audacity to leave behind this appalling symbol, I will see to it that the Master at Arms calls them to account herself. The corner of the captain's mouth twitches nervously as he mutters, "Damn those, how did they ever—" Examine the mark. You have seen this sort of symbol before. Deaf cultists carve bleeding marks like this into their own skin. Well, carves the same symbol on the back of her hand with a knife and whispers a prayer. Dominus Ignatius, remember this sign. It is the beginning of your quest, the first blood trail. Do you know what this mark is? It resembles one of the symbols associated with the blood-spun web. What was it called again? The Song of Trailing Blood. I think it's a prayer familiar to many in the department. We've heard spinners say it when they, perform their signature acts of service to the Emperor. Fraunos takes a deep breath. Soundless shadows sank to the dark. Slashed feet resemble a fatal dance. Blade song and temple, each edge an echo. Twin odes to death throes. Now on her sacred blood, as she once trod the back of foes, tread countless souls, but none who know. You memorized the verse. Why? When I took up my post here, I made sure to familiarize myself with all the peculiar qualities of this compartment. I soon heard about the verse and decided to investigate. Questioned a number of people who follow the blood-spun web, and I was trying to figure out if it was anything pernicious about it, and eventually I learned the whole thing. He frowns. The words are certainly strange, but it's nothing worse than that, it seems. Why would they leave this mark here? Maybe it has something to do with them inviting you to visit their temple. Maybe they're trying to get your attention. Apologies, Lord Captain. I'm no good at deciphering their disturbing riddles. What is the Song of Trailing Blood? From what I can tell you, it's something like a prayer with several verses that tell about the life of one of the cult saints, Erin, or Matriarch Spider, as they call her. So I'm invited to follow the trail of blood, it seems. I accept the spinner's invitation. Hope you find what you're looking for and return to the upper deck safely, Lord Captain.
Upper deckers avoid coming here. But how can one live aboard the flagship only to turn one's back on the core that gives it life?
Good point. Subs virals, the word cycle. Do you have any idea how much it costs? There's 57 ration cards. It's all I've got, I swear. Spent the rest on Rotgut again. I'm guessing I'm not doing you any more favors. Give up the drink or get used to life in the pestilence pit. We get hit by a train.
I always have a backup plan.
So take that. Can't talk to the quartermaster. Inspect the enforcer checkpoint. As the march acquired the sound of the station, it comes, the shadows grow longer and seem to stretch in the direction of the adjacent section.
Is there money to be made?
Mercy, please save me. The young man gasped for air through his burnt lips, slipping in and out of the delirium. His skin is dripping from his gaunt body like melted wax from a candle. His eyes, somewhat intact, alive, clear, and filled with pain, stare at you from under his cracked eyelids. Who are you and what happened to you? I'm Val, a cleaner. I was in my house asleep and forces came and set fire to it. I didn't make it out in time. Do you know anything about the mark next to you? Tries to turn his head, but his blackened skin crunching as if to open starlit threads. A spinner came, painted the symbol, then she gave me water and whispered his trained verse. He told me to memorize it and recite it later so that help would come. And here you are. Then I should. To soot smitten soul, here mercy she did grant. Last breath express, knife met heart. Removed from chest, passed on to death. Her duty blessed, a balm for those who suffer anguish and distress. A longing brought to rest, of mortal bonds the soul divest. Grant the man a merciful death. That her mercy is death. No, mercy. Horror flashes in the man's eyes. So be I can't take it anymore. I'd rather die. No curse more terrible than the existence between on life and on death. You have liberated a tormented soul, Dominus Ignace, the undying one sees the good you have wrought.
Always keep your eye on the price.
Compared to naval service, that was barely a challenge.
What is that? Stat of ration cards 15. To 1 portion ration protein and a mud of water. To pass marketplace. Make sure the enforcers you or you'll ruin entire operation. On the tracks behind you'll find a little gift. Give to him and see it for yourself, and you'll see it for yourself.
Experience. Nothing matters more.
Group of beggars all rattling their arms for alms, mud and obsessively displaying their hunger-sunken bellies. The various disfigurements, a toothless man falls knees before your lordship. Spare a throne for those who can't even get the worst jobs. There, we're going to pop a save right here. Always be full tonight. Praised be Lord Captain, the poor descend on the alms like a patch of gutter rats, each one scurrying off with their own to their own corner with what they grabbed.